Now, Britain has spent billions in the effort to try to bring democracy to the likes of Afghanistan and Iraq. And yet, we tolerate and trade with a dictatorship right on Europe's doorstep. Belarus borders Poland and is described by many as Europe's last dictatorship. And now its main opposition leader is calling on Britain and others to do more to end what he calls a brutal regime. Opposition leader Sannikov joins me now. Very good morning to you, Mr. Sannikov. I mean, you don't think that is too strong. In Belarus, you've had 19 years nearly of Mr. Lukashenko in charge there, and he, in your book, is a full-blown dictator.
Yes, of course. He is a ruthless dictator, and it is proven, especially it was proven on the 19th of December 2010, when a peaceful demonstration that was protesting the elections that were rigged was brutally there was a brutal crackdown. I was in prison, as well as my friends and colleagues. Even my wife was in the same prison that I'm with me. And yes, it's a dictatorship, full-fledged dictatorship.
I'll ask you a little bit more about what happened to your family in a moment or two. But you think Europe, the West, is turning a blind eye here? If so, why?
You know, why it's... I think because Belarus has never been considered a strategic spot that requires an attention, serious attention. It was ignored for a long time, and the dangers were ignored of a dictatorship in the center. You said it's on the doorstep of Europe. It's in Europe. Yeah. You know, it's 2 hours flight from London. It's only 30 kilometers from the European capital, Vilnius, so it's in Europe. And we consider ourselves European. I had a civil campaign which is called European Belarus, which shows that we want to be in Europe. So it was ignored, and I think it's even there was a trend to play with the dictator to appease the dictator, as if history doesn't teach us anything, as if history doesn't teach that you cannot appease a dictator, you can only be strong and deal strongly with him.
Is one of the difficulties its proximity to Russia and relationships with the Kremlin?
It's one of the difficult, but it's not an excuse to support the democracy in Belarus, to be strong on human rights and don't play games, and not to play games with the dictator. Yes, Russia is affected, but it's always been affected, and it's always be affected. But it doesn't excuse the West and the democratic world for doing very little to help Belarusians.
Well, what would the very little be, and what more beyond that?
You know, if we take British government, I would like first of all to express my gratitude for the strong position that the British government took last year, and that British government supported sanctions against Lukashenko, and I was released because of that. But it strangely enough keeps very silent after that. There are no statements, there are no meaningful support coming from Britain to release other political prisoners. We have an unprecedented number of political prisoners today in Belarus. And these people, I can tell it from my own experience, are being killed, they are being destroyed in prisons because they are opponents of Lukashenko. We have 13 of them today now. So don't consider it a help to a human rights activists, civil society, opposition politicians. Consider it an investment into democracy, and that's what we need, and that's where the government, the British government, has a long tradition and has to follow this tradition.
And what personal price is your family paying for this campaign? Would you feel safe going back there? I know your wife is still there.
I got a political asylum mainly for these reasons, because it's not safe to go back. My wife is there; she's under suspended sentence, and she's virtually under house arrest. I hope she was allowed. We were allowed to meet, but that's it. She's facing another trial in July. It's not safe there. It's not safe for anybody in Belarus. But people are fighting, and they have to be supported. That's why when you ask what more could be done, moral, political, and financial support to those people who are fighting for democracy in Belarus, because we are fighting for our common values, European values.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Very good to see you. Sannikov, thank you very much.
Just one word, because it's a great day for us tomorrow, and I just wanted to congratulate all Belarusians with the Freedom Day. We are celebrating the 95th anniversary of the independence of Belarus tomorrow.
Okay, and thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Sannikov. Very good to see you. Sannikov there.